and good evening to Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms. This is Raph streaming to you live high above the keep in the hot air balloon. Tonight, we have a very fun episode planned. We're going to deep dive into the strategy of DFK Fight Klub. We got a great crew with us, and we are joined by Franz and Guy Kidd from the Bogside Chats podcast. Franz, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Guy Kidd, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Excited to jump into Fight Klub.
All right, so you got the Gen ones put to sleep, and you're free to podcast tonight.
Yeah, it was 8 o'clock this evening, and I was looking a little hairy, but the 2-month-old timed the bottle perfectly. It's like she knew I needed to record tonight.
Well played. Neindorf, as always, how you doing?
Doing really well, and enjoying this heat wave, or at least trying to, that we got here through the Midwest. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, sure thing. It's been a bit warm right now. My side project is I've been finishing off a table that I built. I actually to kind of put the age in perspective. I built this table 2 Gen 1s ago, and so it's been in construction for that many years. And so finally, we're breaking down and finishing off the table. So we stained it, and I'm putting on an epoxy coat. Well, the epoxy coat you have to apply, and it has to cure between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Midwest has been so temperamental that it's either been like 50 or it's been 90, as you know, Neindorf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I finally got some late evening hours and have that work done, and that's put away. But that's not why we're here. All right, so any question of the day? I guess we didn't have really time to chit-chat beforehand.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe it's a pretty simple one, kind of given the episode we're on here. What are you guys thinking about the current, I'll just call it the platter of combat-esque tools that we have available, be it Arena, Fight Club, or Duels itself? What are you guys thinking?
Franz, why don't you
What's
go
your
first?
favorite?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. It's Fight Club. Duels are duels in Arena with the one stat kind of pick there. It's cool. It's interesting, but just having the turn-based play-by-play of Fight Club, it's nothing better than that.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting, and I'll steal a line from C9N because he really said it best. Of the last couple weeks have felt like January in the sense of like I want to log in every single day because there's things to do. It's exciting. It's enjoyable from a gameplay perspective of like Fight Club specifically. Duels, I've gotten a little taste of it, but like Fight Club, it's like I actually want to play it every single day and go and find my maximum optimized strategy and things like that. Like the gameplay element's really fun.
All right, so I was having some audio problem. I was trying to turn down the volume on my headphones, and all of a sudden they blasted my ears with what felt like 3,000 decibels, just as Franz was explaining things. So if anyone picked that up on YouTube, I apologize. It was incredibly concerning. Franz, do you mind for my sake? You were saying that you like Fight Club, I'm imagining?
Yeah, I think you know the answer just based on how many times that we've played so far. It's all about Fight Club for me right now.
Yeah, and I was listening to your guys' last video this morning on the way to work, and you guys were giving it a rating and grading system for the different ones, and I would say I've really tailed off on Arena. I was honestly just donating money to whales after a certain period in time. I was kind of getting tired of doing that. Like I felt like it was so sensitive to stat points that it had gone almost too far, where if you did not have the elite of the elite, you're just going to get blasted. And there was no, ranking system. And so you could keep getting blasted by the top tier guys, every 2 hours once your cooldown was done. And duels, I've played a few. I've played mostly 9-man wars. I've accumulated probably more heroes than I'd like to have during this low period of jewel costs. And so I'm actually doing all right there, but it still just feels like a bunch of random. I'm absolutely loving what Fight Club has to offer, and that's been sucking a lot of my time and energy just trying to figure it out, navigate it, and then deep dive into some strategy. How about you, Neindorf?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really. I've watched a lot of the arena games. I didn't ever actually play one. I think you're right in the sense that it really is without a matchmaking system, it's kind of doomed at this point. So it's kind of funny how the pendulum has swung full left and then right because it was basically arena was awesome because there was something to do, and then kind of duels comes out and now people are kind of like, well, hey, that's kind of cool, but the matchmaking's there. I don't think we have enough history yet and enough experience in our profiles to know how well the matchmaking is going to work out. But I think you're going to see it swing the duels over arena if you're just considering on-chain solutions, basically because of the matchmaking system. And I know the team has said that that's basically the point of duels, is so that they could test their chops at matchmaking, because a good PvP is going to live or die by that system. So I think that's kind of cool. And then you get to the realm of off-chain games like Fight Club here, and I mean you can just iterate and move so much faster. So I really like what he's doing with this game. I think Fight Club has a lot more potential right now. And like we were saying, it the skill aspect is there, and now we just let's keep it going, and we'll see how all these tools pan out. But I am probably in the Fight Club camp as well, even though I haven't played yet. I've looked over all the skills. I've looked over my heroes. I've watched some people's get fights, and it's got me, no doubt.
Yeah, you know what I really like. The one thing I would say that Duels has going for it is, many video game players are inherently lazy, and so being able to click on the in-game solution, I think is really streamlined. I know in the grant program, many people have asked for almost like an in-game hyperlink that takes you to their off-chain or out-of-game solution, which I think would be very helpful for something like this. I'd love to someday see this navigate to something more like a full application instead of over Discord. Maybe it's just me as a primary mobile user, but I do find if there's any nits to pick, that the mobile interface with Discord is just a little clunky to see everything on screen at once. I don't know. Maybe it's just how stupid I am as well, because I get a little confused easily. But I've been having so much fun with it. And, one thing that I guess I want to get your guys' thoughts on, I know you guys talked about this a little bit on Bogside Chats on the last podcast, so not trying to replay all the greatest hits, but I'm really excited about something like Fight Club. I thought DFK Arena actually did this really well, where you can take gold out of the game and you can essentially utilize that token in some way. Now, that was a blockchain game. I don't know if this would work with some kind of centralized game that wouldn't be creating more of a token, or you'd have to have some kind of system in place. But I think it was a really neat concept to take that token, gold, out of the game. You can earn that, and then you can put the gold back into the game if you'd like. And one thing that I really liked is it, simplifies not having to mess around with hero stamina or hero experience or anything like that. And you can continue to level up your heroes in-game, and in that way keep it simplified, and just bet jewel or bet gold outside of the game. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. I was thinking about that a lot more after we discussed it as a podcast, and it would be cool if because you could have some kind of burn mechanism where there's an entry fee of gold to play and then some gets burned. But I feel like it's tough to have kind of the prize merit playing something like that. It would be cool if, as part of a grant proposal, you can get kind of a lump sum of gold, or of, maybe not jewel, but to use as kind of a prize pool, or to help Tyler, get there.
I like that. Guy Kid, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, because it's the only way to be able to win gold is to risk gold as well. So it's right now, and any kind of reward system needs to be entirely generated by the player base, unless we are able. I think the raffle system, the really interesting thing with DFK Duels is the potential of the raffle system, if that can be incorporated into third-party games, I think we could see a lot of interesting raffles and prize pools built off of that, of basically being able to generate tickets through all these applications. Imagine if there's 15 or 20 different mini games that you can choose from that can all award different levels of raffle tickets. And to bridge that into Franz's point too, if a lot of the prize money's generated through grants as well, it's a way to just get that incorporated into the ecosystem of DFK as a whole.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not a economist by any stretch, and I don't pretend to fully understand how the token economics work. But I think anyways, I'll give my thoughts. Anyways, I think there's two things that we hope a system, a combat system, needs for the game to be sustainable in the future. I mean, the first is the burning mechanism that you mentioned, Franz, and I think a second really important one is. I remember you said this to me, Neindorf, is there have to be winners and there have to be losers. And by that, there also has to be something fun that is triggering people's competitive nerves and, getting them to want to actually invest in playing the game or be willing to risk some kind of token that is tied to a real life dollar value, whether that's gold or whether that's jewel. But I think that's just as important, maybe even more important than the burning mechanism, because the burning mechanism is really important when you're in a period of inflation where you are increasing the supply, the number of tokens available. But once that stabilizes, you don't really need that burning mechanism as much anymore. You really need the part of the tokenomics is just people wanting to invest their actual money into playing this in real life. I think back to like a game like Clash of Clans where I spent probably way too much real life time and money in it. And you get no money out of that. There's no reward for playing beyond, you just really enjoy beating up on other people, and especially that clan element of your clan beating up on other people. And so I think if they can tap into that feature of our minds where you want to pay to play a video game, I think that's going to open up a lot of opportunities to stabilize the token.
I think that's why a lot of people have ended up in this space too, of like why there is a player base that's itching for crypto games to really take off, because they see what they're investing in various video games, whether it's WoW, whether it's Clash of Clans,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Rise of Kingdoms that Franz and I played. But it's crazy to see the amount of money you can sink into a video game just for, like you mentioned, that competitive edge.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump over into Fight Klub. And so I'm jumping over into general chat here, and I'm gonna first go to their game info page. And so Tyler Durdennis is the main only developer. I've joked, and I'm actually not certain. There's another guy that's helping him do testing, Connix, and I said I think one of these guys is Tyler Durden, and the other one's Brad Pitt, and the other one is Edward Norton. But they might actually really both be Edward Norton. So I'm not sure. Anyways, with the game info, some great infographics. What I'm going to bring up first on the screen here and try to zoom in a lot so our YouTube viewers can take a peek at this. But we have the classes of heroes, and we have their, kind of, I would call it flavor text of what that hero is, styled to be, the kind of combat they're performing. And then you have the skills. Then on the right-hand side, each hero has 2 skills if they're implemented in the game. I believe the red skills are not implemented yet. There's a little number next to the image of the skill, and that's the amount of charge, which is like your energy charge. Think like Street Fighter or something like that, or like a Dragon Ball Z combat system. And then you have the text of what that skill does. So maybe, Franz, let's start with you. What is, as you're kind of going through and looking at the different heroes, what's the hero that stuck out to you the most that is your go-to or your favorite right now?
Yeah. there are a lot that I haven't really tried yet because I don't have the hero, but I'm really interested in. Like a pirate, for example. I love the mechanic of being able to deal damage and switch positions. I've been trying to think of a few different ways that I could use that well, with like maybe pushing him back to get a paladin into the front row, um, or get a tanky creature in front. But I've mostly been sticking with warriors and archers. I love the idea of being able to hit the back rows
Yeah,
with the
so
yeah.
yeah, let's go through that. The archer has their full draw capability, deal 110 damage to the enemy backline. Right now, with the current level that our heroes are at, 110 damage is a lot. That's usually, like what, 1/5, 1/6 of most health bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how is that? Have you been, sniping off that squishy back row then?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's usually in the back row is the guy that doesn't have a lot of health to start with. I think it's tough to get more than one off because I feel like, especially after the first time you use it, it's people are kind of watching that charge bar with the
They're ready to
waiting
interrupt.
for the interrupt. Yeah.
So let's
But
go.
yeah,
Let's take a pause there real quick. Sorry to interrupt. And,
No, go.
Maybe Guy Kid, walk me through the Fight Club turns. I have that imagery up now. So let's do a little bit of explaining of, both the turn priorities and then maybe the physical makeup where you have a front line, a mid line, and a back line hero.
Yep. So to start with the second part of that, you've got a front line, a mid line, and a back line hero. The backline hero, you really want to think of that guy as sitting in reserve. Only the front two guys can utilize their abilities. So the backline guy is really out of play of, like, imagine your WWE wrestling match of, like, he's completely outside the arena. He can't do anything. But your frontline guy does his basic attacks. The midline guy has the ability to use his abilities. And so from a priority perspective of, you basically have a turn where you've got three options you can pick from. You can utilize an ability, you can fierce attack, or you can interrupt. So what fierce attack is you've got normal hits that you can do. Fierce attack adds a bonus into your normal attack. So rather than doing, say, 50 damage, you do 75 damage just doing your fierce attack. What your abilities are is that chat that Raph just went through of showing all the different abilities that you have. That really adds a lot of player choice from a hero class perspective that you can choose from. So you've got mages that can cast, you've got paladins and priests that can heal, you've got archers that can attack backline in front of instead of your frontline guys. But then the last choice you have is you have an interrupted choice that you can basically choose to interrupt one of the heroes of your opponent. Basically, you're waging on them utilizing an ability. That's why we talked about the charge bar as well. So if you think their charge bar went up and you think that archer is going to backline shot, you can choose to interrupt that archer's move. And then what you'll actually do is you'll get a bunch of energy and charge bar on your side, and your opponent's ability will not be used. It becomes a moot point and a waste of a turn if you pick the wrong hero or you interrupt the wrong hero. But that's kind of the order of operations: is interrupt gets chosen first, and then abilities go, and then normal attacks go.
All right, so sorry, I gotta interrupt here for a second. Mean Machine is cracking me up on YouTube chat. So he asked a question to follow up on Franz's intro here. He said, Franz, if you had to pick 3 heroes for your A team, who would they be and where would you place them? And the first thought that went through my head is, wow, what a thoughtful question. This is really great that our YouTubers are this engaged. Like, this is wonderful. And then I realized we are planning a fight night this Thursday, and Mean Machine and France are facing off. But you sniffed that out right away with your reply. So
Yeah, I'm gonna be using all level 3 thieves tonight. Just to,
Yeah, just to throw him off the chase.
yeah.
That's great. All right, but yeah, Guy Kid. On the interrupt front, it is like a little rock paper scissory where if you can time your interrupts just right and you can anticipate what they're doing, it beefs up. You gain like a full meter of charge. And it stops their skill from working. There's no like cooldown on interrupts right now, but it is a bit of a guessing game because either the front line or the mid line can use their skills, or they could be switching heroes, which that would also block. And so it's a bit of a kind of a gamble, or based on your gut instinct of what you think that they're going to do. So trying to a bit of game theory, or getting in your opponent's mind, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Neindorf, I know you haven't played yet, so what do you think about the interrupt feature? Someone who hasn't used it yet, what are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, I think I really love the feature, honestly, because it gives you a sort of a universal ability that all heroes kind of have. So you kind of tie some of them together because those other abilities are very diverse, right? It's like interrupt is kind of like, I don't know, I like that concept that, you know, there's someone focusing. I mean, in a lot of movies or books or games that have magical heroes or characters, there's that concept of, there's focus. I'm going to build this really big fireball, right? I got to think about it.
Yeah.
I think it really gives you the feel that it jives with all the lore and all that sort of stuff that I've had in my history. And so I think I really love the interrupt. I think it is very critical to make it so that it's not. I like that it has a bonus that's really well thought out in my opinion. That if you actually successfully interrupt, you also get bonus as opposed to them just getting stopped and then you having no gain. So
Right.
I don't know. Well done in my opinion.
Yeah, it's that kind of the high risk, high reward kind of situation. And they could always
Exactly.
end up using their fierce attack and just starting to blow you out, which Franz did to me when we battled last night. So let's go down. Franz, you like the pirate. A quick comment there. I've actually been playtesting pirate today a little bit over the lunch hour. I really like the plunder skill, stealing the stat from the enemy front line. And so you either steal 20% of their attack, 20% of their damage, or 20% of their speed, which I'm going to go ahead and get to that section here next with the infographic. So you have health, damage, speed, and charge. And I really like the elegance of the simplicity here. That sometimes I call him Joseph because that's his real name that he said to us in podcast. Tyler, Durdennis, Brad Pitt, Joseph, whatever you want to call him. Really well done. He took the stats, the 8 stats that you have on the hero card, and, tried to simplify that a little more. And I also like how it allows, different heroes to have niches based on, like, the combination of stats. And so health is a combination of your DFK health plus your endurance on your hero. And so I think that really favors, paladins, knights, and, maybe even to a certain extent dragoons. Damage is a combination of strength plus dexterity plus intelligence divided by 2 plus luck divided by 2. Speed, who goes first, is agility plus dexterity plus luck divided by 2. And then charge is how much meter is being generated each turn, and that's your intelligence plus your wisdom. So I thought that was a really clever way to incorporate your 8 stats, but at the same time, make the combat a little more manageable in your mind as you're going through turn by turn, trying to figure out how you're going to assess how much you could be doing to your opponent. So anyways, going back to the pirate, you have the ability to steal 20% of a random stat from the enemy front line. So I actually have had a pirate midline has been the strategy that I've been going with, and trying to have a beefy tankier character, a knight, in the front line. And actually my knight is a knight monk, and so the threat of meditate with that the monk has is pretty strong, and then the threat of plunder is actually pretty good as well. So, Guy Kid, I know you've been doing a lot of the cat and mouse game. Maybe first off, explain to us how OP do you feel the monk is in our current meta game, and then I know you've played Pokemon in your past life, or I believe you said you have. Give us your thoughts on the skills that build stats, like plunder, for example, and do you think that you can build up a sweeper style hero on your team?
Yeah, it's. I thought you were gonna ask me the same question you asked Franz, and I was gonna be like, "Yeah, monks, 100%." You stole my thunder a little bit. This Kai Blast or Key Blast, whichever it is. I mean, think of 300 damage. Everyone go through, look at your heroes, and look at how many heroes don't even have 300 health points. So that's like a complete drain of your ability bar, because if you might not be able to see it in the infographic, but you need 3 meters to be able to use that Kai Blast. So that's like a really, really big hit. That the most depressing thing that can ever happen to you is if that gets interrupted. But C9N actually has a team now that he's rolling out, or I don't know if I should spoil. Oh, I'm playing him, so I can say this. He's thinking of rolling all. Yeah, he's thinking of rolling an all monk team where you got to basically play Russian roulette with your Kai Blast of who you're going to interrupt. But so the monks are awesome because they also have that meditate from a meter perspective, where you can start building up and really get your meter going. Of there's natural charge that happens every single turn, but yeah, that meditate on top of it, that can compound really fast. Yeah. But to answer your other question too, of what's really interesting about this that I've been looking at, of like one of my heroes that I want to be good that isn't quite there yet, is the Dark Knights, of being able to utilize your Dark Pact, of like basically having a charge built up and really have a Dark Knight that's all of a sudden hitting for like 2 times or 3 times a normal attack, because you've built up his Dark Pact so much that he's just hitting like a truck. So like sounds good in theory, but it's just like not quite there from an implementation perspective, because you almost need to start with your Dark Knight in the middle to give them enough runway to build that up. But like I would love to see being able, between the Pirate and the Dark Knight, being able to build up those basic stat pools and abilities to really have your basic attacks do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I really love the concept of like the sweeper in Pokemon, if anyone's familiar with that game, turn-based like this as well. And the concept of sweeping kind of starts with first stat boosting some hero, whether it's passing on your stat boost to the next hero, or outmaneuvering your opponent where you get a free turn or two, using a move, taking the time to use a move that boosts your stats. And then if you survive that, kind of that sacrifice, or that, trying to gain that positional advantage, then your hero will become strong enough to sweep the rest of the board. And many times, if you set up a sweeper the right way, you might end up going, your one last hero versus all of their 3 heroes in this case. Well, at least that's kind of the format of how it went in Pokemon. And so it was like this huge, payoff style strategy where you might have to sacrifice quite a lot to end up positioning yourself the right way. So I like the idea. I think Dark Pact is exactly that. It deals damage to your own allies to boost your damage, charge, and speed on your Dark Knight. I think that's just, a really clever mechanism. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Did you see it did get a buff today too?
Yes, I did. I'm really excited to try that out. Right here it says deal 30 damage and then gain 20%. Is it deal 50 damage to your other allies and gain 50%? Did I read that right?
Deal 65 and gain 50%.
Oh, whew, that's a lot.
So, yeah, it is. But I think that's something that, and I think this goes into the sweeper kind of role that you were talking about as well. It's going to be interesting looking at this game in another 10 levels of growth for all of our heroes, another 15 levels of growth, because you'll have that added HP to be able to really keep buffing them up and not be worried about dying after 5 turns.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's going to have to do some kind of scaling to some of the damage here. If it's like a base damage amount and then also, some other added value with your typical damage deal.
Yeah, it would be cool if he added in, and this is something that I mentioned to him, add in some kind of stat effect to the skills, because I was playing someone who had a priest with an archer sub, and it just felt weird to me that their aimed shot from the priest did the same as mine does from an archer. I feel like the strength and dex should incorporate into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was kind of hoping for. Where you could get some of those stats playing into that outside of just the base damage. I like that as well. Well, Neindorf, do you want to try to queue up a game, and we can maybe watch it?
Like I said, I'm not able to at the moment configure my heroes, so we might have to swap
yeah, right.
somebody.
Guy Kid, do you want to give it a shot, or Franz?
I guess I have a question after listening to you guys and then reading this over. When it's talking about modifying the speed, someone says it damages the speed. Is that purely just to base? So every set of turns, the who goes first changes based on that speed. Is that correct?
If it modifies the speed, yes, it would.
Okay. I was just curious because I was looking at like Wizard, for example.
Yeah.
And the Ice Blast is like decreasing enemy speed by 10. And I was like, well, okay, how much is 10? Is 10 a lot? Is it a little? And then you got to kind of go back to that other chart, I suppose. And 10's actually probably kind of a lot.
Yeah, it's a fair amount. I think that it could neutralize the speed of that frontline hero pretty quickly.
All right, cool.
Yeah, one of you guys want to try to queue up a battle?
Yeah, so it looks like Guy Kid sent me an invite, so we're waiting in Battle Room B.
All right, excellent.
Mean Machine, please turn off the stream at this time. Thank you.
Oh, you did not adjust your lineup, huh?
I didn't.
You got the A team for me, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right, so here we are. I'm going to kind of ask you guys to maybe pause for a moment here.
Yeah, we'll go slow.
So Team 1, the layout here for our watchers, we're showing Guy Kid's team, his frontline hero, mid, and backline hero. I think one suggestion that I'll give Tylus at some point is maybe putting the hero IDs in here. I found as I'm trying to do some like number checks and understand the mechanics of the game, it's really hard to try to trace who a hero is just by their attribute data. It could take some time for that. So we have in the front line here for Guy Kid, we have a paladin, and then with heal as a secondary skill, I'm guessing that's a priest, paladin priest. Is that right?
You got it.
And then midline, we have a pirate. I like this. I like the plunder in the midline. So again, the plunder skill, it allows you to steal 20% of the frontline hero stat. So you're going for exactly what I had in mind, which is, have a really beefy, tanky character in the front, and then your pirate stealing stats in the midline, and then closing it out. Your closer here is a warrior wizard. It looks like. I really like Cleave. That's been a fun ability so far. Feels pretty powerful. That does 70 damage to both the front line and the midline. Last Stand, you gain damage based on your health lost, and then Ice Blast, we went over that just a moment ago. So then Team 2, Franz's team, Mean Machine, earmuffs here. Front line, we have Gempion Wood Blaster, that is a warrior pirate. All right, then midline, we got a full-on archer, and that's Archer. And, to your point of that you said earlier, Franz, I'd also kind of wish that, characters that have that, I guess in this sense, pure, not, recessive traits, but if your primary and your secondary class are the same hero type, in this game, it's kind of a little bit of a wasted skill. It'd be nice to see like a supercharged aim shot. Like that to me would be really neat.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
I'm sure you're all for it with the with the Archer love.
Yep.
And then the back line closing out, we have a Warrior Ninja caltrops have not been implemented yet. So you just have a tough Warrior here in the back line. All right, so for action one, you guys went ahead and battled. So we can either watch the
They
video.
were just fierce attacks. It timed out on us. So
Oh, okay. So fierce
started
attacks.
out with 2
Yeah,
fierce.
that's pretty good. All right, so now you guys have the choice. We, as kind of viewers, if you're watching this, you see a little bit of the action choices, but then you get to see when they're actually playing. There's the grayed out text here for those of you watching on video, and if you click on that grayed out text, it will actually give you an explanation of what happens. So we got 2 interrupts going on, so it's a little bit of a battle of the mind game here. And then you guys each go with your attacks. Looking at this, we see that you're dealing 42 damage compared to 47 damage. So Franz dealing a little more damage here, and then also, I mean, quite a bit more charge meter that you're earning, Guy Kid. All right. So turn 3, we're gonna check this out. Another team 2. You guys are gonna have to remind me. Who's team 2? That's Franz, right? Yeah, so Franz, you did an interrupt.
Yeah, and I think we're going too fast. We could slow it down for you.
And Guy Kid did a fierce attack. Oh, that's all right. Neindorf, as you're kind of watching this and kind of getting the hang for the cadence, what are your initial thoughts about this kind of turnstile combat?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think again, this is something you can do in Discord, but I love to see the dynamic here because you're just not going to be able to do something quite like this with the cat and mouse that is on blockchain. You're going to get that, let me set it up in advance, configure up those rules maybe, and then let it play out. So this is great because this is that live action, that live turn by turn cat and mouse game. I think it's great.
Now, I would actually be curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Like, we've tried talking about it, but none of us have enough experience on the blockchain itself. Of how much of a game do you think needs to be truly on a blockchain versus almost like an Axie Infinity type style of, does it make sense to have some assets on chain and then gameplay off chain, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about this, honestly. And it seems to me that the DFK team is kind of going the purist approach, right? Where they want to be the blockchain purist, where everything lives on chain, all actions are on chain. But there's definitely a market for the space in between. You could easily have a match like this set up ahead of time, and you play it out on a centralized server, and then the result just gets uploaded in a single transaction. Kind of the winner and the loser, and maybe some any exchange of tokens and whatnot. So I think there's that would be the far left and the far right of the extremes. I personally think there's a lot more games that are going to be a little bit more server centric, that are going to be a more AAA style game where there's a lot better graphics, a lot more happening, maybe even first person kind of things possibly. In your DFK style, where it's all pure chain, is going to have to be very slow, very cadenced and methodical, or all predefined. It's just too slow. Even on a fast blockchain like Harmony, you just don't know if the other person's going to go away, or timeouts, and it's just kind of painful, honestly.
Yeah, I really don't, to second what you're saying, and I've thought about it probably a lot less than you have, not having that programmer background, but I really like that there is a place for a centralized style game. I feel like I feel like it's okay, and like you're still using these NFTs that you're building on the blockchain, and you're just taking them for like a bit of a detour off the blockchain to go party in this game atmosphere. So I think that's pretty neat. All right, so in turn 5, we got some nice little cat and mouse going on here.
Nice
we
interrupt.
had a nice interrupt here by Guy Kid, stopping the full draw. The full draw would have been the 110 damage to the back line, and that was interrupted. So great, double bonus, not getting attacked, and then also gaining that charge. All right, so turn 6 is playing out now. All right, team 2, Franz is interrupting Guy
We
Kid's
know each other too well. It's painful.
front line, and it's retribution. And retribution is a skill for. Why don't you go ahead and? I'm not that familiar with it. I know it hurts a lot. So
So
Guy Kid,
you
what's
deal
retribution?
damage based on how much health you're missing. So my
Ah.
paladin's at about half health right now.
Mhm.
So he would do 130, 150 damage because it's
Nice.
missing HP divided by 2.
Nice.
But of course,
nice.
Franz read me like a book and interrupted it.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Franz using that interrupt, then just uses and then both heroes end up using a basic attack.
Exactly. Every turn ends with both heroes doing a basic attack.
I like that. It really keeps the game, moving along. I think without that, you'd kind of stall out and you'd see games going, 15, 30 minutes, something like that. All right, so now we have Cleave going on. And so that's, again, this 70 damage to the front and mid line, 100 meter, and then a fierce attack. Ooh, 76 damage with that fierce attack from the paladin. So that's pretty strong. Skipping to the end of the video. So that paladin is at less than 125%, and the warrior's at a little above 25%. The paladin right now has 2.5 bars of charge. Retribution is that 2?
I think it's 2, yeah.
It is, yeah. All right, so team 2 interrupts the front line, and it was a fierce attack. And so you read that interrupt that was coming your way, Guy Kid.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where it's tough against some of these heroes that have these like real whopper of attacks. Like I feel like at this point I have to just try to bleed him out while interrupting. Because
Right.
for a paladin to get off the retribution with this low of HP,
It would
like,
just
that's
end
gonna
you.
yeah.
So you're kind of taking it because he has that charge meter built up, and you have to kind of play damage control or damage mitigation almost, where you're stopping the worst of the attacks. And it is nice that you're attacking first, right? Or no, you are attacking second. Oh no, you are attacking first.
No, I'm first. Yeah, the
He's
other
going
good thing about interrupting front though, where you're trying to kind of stave off this kind of move,
Yeah.
is he can't move him out either, because the interrupt affects the swap
It
position.
does stop that. All right, so now we have a pretty. I like this setup. It's a, I like playing the game Connect 4 with my kids, and you can in Connect 4 you can threaten 2 spots at once, and I think this is the exact thing that happened here, where the paladin, the retribution is pretty real, and so you went ahead and used a plunder with the midline. And so when the interrupt came through on the front line, the plunder from the pirate ended up going through, and you end up gaining what did that do? Or no, did you do? Oh, you used cannon barrage,
plunder-
not plunder. Sorry.
Yeah, the cannon barrage, so it does damage, which is
Uh-huh.
nice, and then it knocks me back too.
Okay.
So I'm able to get my warrior, who's got more HP than my pirate, to the front
Okay.
line.
Yeah.
And I pretty much knew he was interrupting the paladin, so it's a way for me to sneak in a little more damage as well.
Yeah, being able to switch that warrior to the front, anticipating the paladin's death, that was a nice move.
Right. All right, so turn 10 is calculating. All right, so you guys you're running pretty even right now, with I would say the advantage going to the charge bar for Guy Kid here. All right, so then we get another positional swap. Swap positions using
And I think-
cleave. All right. That cleave is pretty powerful. And you can see how squishy that archer. Is that an archer? That's in the back, yeah.
Yeah, Archer.
Ooh, that's a beefy warrior, too. How much health does he have? Wow. 68 damage did. Not that much.
He's got a good amount. That's
he's up there.
My PJ warrior.
All right. Well, we can speed this up a little
450.
bit now. All right. So we're now doing fierce attacks, and when you both do fierce attacks, each team generates more charge meter. Again, I think a nice little way to speed up the pace of play, and a bit of almost like game theory, where if both people use the fierce attack, you both gain the charge meters, an extra 50 per team.
Yeah, if everyone's playing passive, it just accelerates the game pace, which is good.
Yeah, I am noticing that there's a lot of little nuances that are well thought out on this, where it's meant to, like you said, it's meant to keep things moving forward. It's meant to not stall, and it's also meant to be cat and mouse. Like I'm getting more and more impressed as I watch this.
So as we're going into turn 12 here, Neindorf, they 2.5 charge meter, 2 charge meter. I think let's do a little bit of prediction time. The warriors could each use cleave, which would do damage to the front and the back. The pirate could use plunder to try to build up a sweeper for Guy Kid. Also, the archer could start, using maybe a full draw to work down the pirate's HP. I think right now I'd give the edge a little bit to Guy Kid because his frontline warrior is just so strong and has so much health. Yeah, he's packing a real heavy punch. All right, so go ahead.
You made a good point, too. I forgot that they updated the full draw to make it the furthest most hero, not just the backline. I was thinking of the full draw as being out of my... Not able to use it at this point, but that's good.
So, interrupt, and you ended up using cleave there, Guy Kid, right?
So Franz actually used cleave.
Franz used cleave, sorry.
And this is like, the right chess move to make. And I thought he knew I was going to make that move, so I tried a different move, thinking all right, he knows I'm going to interrupt his warrior, so he's going to use the archer skill rather than the warrior skill. So I'm actually going to interrupt his archer, not the warrior, but he just cleaved me and it hurt.
Yeah, that was well played, and might be some of the catch up that Franz really needs to get back into this one. So all right, so now turn 13 is playing out. Neindorf, I'm not going to click the spoiler here, so
I'm seeing the pirate. We need to see some action from the pirate.
So maybe it didn't get updated, the full draw?
No, it looks like it didn't get updated.
No damage there.
That was a whiff. Oh, that's going to hurt. So use the full
Tyler.
draw. Tyler, where are you at? Or Tylus.
Yeah, he just chimed in the chat to let us know.
Oh.
Now I have an excuse for this match that I was going to lose anyway, so I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, that cleave. Ooh, that hurts.
So the pirate, the skill he uses that can shoot him back a row. If he's already in the back, in this case, I assume he just stays where he's at.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
And something that what's interesting with the turn order is that skills will go first regardless of speed. And so if you click fierce attack and they use a skill, their skill will go first. And so one of the things that I ended up doing is I was faster with my pirate was faster because he had used a couple plunders, and yet we came down a battle that I was playing over lunch, and we came down to it looked like the last hit was going to kill and to win, and I ended up using the pushback skill because I needed my attack to go first, and if I would have just used a fierce attack, their skill potentially would have gone first, and I could have lost. So that was kind of some of the thought process in my head.
Yeah, you got to think of that. That's true. You got to keep that in mind, that it's not only turn order, it's also type of move that figures in. I like it.
Yeah. Well, well played here to Guy Kid. Bragging rights. I kind of calling this game right now. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that fierce attack hurt a little bit. It's not quite over yet.
Yeah,
I think we're okay.
I think it's still over, but I didn't expect to take his warrior down there.
Yeah.
Well, surprised by that.
That was a heavy attack for sure.
Yeah, feeling pretty
I think
confident.
3v3 is absolutely perfect for this game.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what, I don't know, at least Raph and I, we've been kind of hoping for 3v3, from the get-go as we've kind of tried to talk combat, from the beginning of our podcasting here for DFK. And I think this is very impressive. I'm, as a holder of a lot of summoners or sages, I'm interested to see how those pan out. I think that's another reason I haven't really jumped in yet, is because like some of my best heroes, actually two of my two best heroes are summoner and sage, and so it's I kind of got to reach a little deeper into my hero list. So this is just going to get better and better and more balanced, I suspect.
There we
All
go.
right. So you
GG.
used the cannon barrage just to make sure.
His fierce attacks were scaring me.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. So again, that's exactly what I just described, where that skill came in first, just to make sure I would love to see. I don't know, maybe not critical hits. What do you guys think? How do you feel about critical hits in
Well,
games?
or what if your speed is so much higher, maybe your attack could go before the skill, like a tipping point.
I like that a lot.
Or
Like
maybe
a ninja that's got a ton of agility, right? He should almost go first no matter what's happening.
Or maybe if you did select fierce attack, that would essentially put your attack at the same priority tier as the skill.
As an ability.
As an ability. Either way, I think there's... And I really like how Tylus / Joseph / Brad Pitt has just reacted so quickly to some of the feedback. Like you said earlier, Franz, he updated some patch notes recently today, so he put in a fix for that, and he put in an AoE skill fix, and so it's if there's a bug or a glitch, it's like you have to live with it for like an hour before he updates it. So I think that's pretty awesome. All right, well, we wanted to go to let's go ahead and end the stream with a tier list. And so I have here, tier maker up, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been really looking forward to this, wanting to build tiers for a long time with combat. So first thing that we can do is we can take sages, and I don't know if you guys can see this on screen, but I have a fat little sage.
Yeah, it looks good. Yep.
And summoners, and we can go ahead and pull those out because they're not in the game yet. Am I missing? Are there Dread Knights are not in the game yet either?
Yep.
Yeah, ninjas have abilities, but they're not implemented yet. So
is that a C?
We could theory craft based on how we feel these abilities will be.
Yeah, let's we'll kind of place him. I'll slot him in C, and then let's go ninja first then. So the abilities with the ninja, let's go ahead and dive into that here real quick. All right, so the ninja's abilities, the first one is
Down at the bottom there. Yep. Caltrops, right?
Caltrops. So this is a little bit like, what's it called? Stealth Rocks in Pokemon, where when you're switching enemies, whenever they swap to the front line, they would get damaged. And so, something like a knight that could pair well with. And the knight has Shield Slam, where they force the enemy front and midline to swap. Or it could be something where, it discourages a pirate from being in the front line. So when he moves back and the next hero moves in, that they would take some damage. What do you guys think about this ability?
Yeah, I love that. And it also has a lot of confluence with his other ability, Vendetta, because whenever the what does it say? The enemy with the least HP is pulled to the front, then deal 30 damage. So would that kind of stack with caltrops? I would assume, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you place one and then use the other if you're able to.
I mean, that could really be devastating.
So think of when people are trying to pull their low HP heroes from the front, and the strategy right now is just to interrupt, so that they can't pull their low HP front guy. But the ninja goes a completely different route, where you almost want to encourage that guy to pull the low HP from the front, because then they're going to get hit with this call traps move, and then you can follow up with Vendetta right after that. So I really like that. You can pull that low HP guy back to the front.
So
But we think he's going to be up. Once it's implemented, we feel like he's probably going to raise through the ranks, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Definitely.
let's place him where we think he's going to end up, since we know so much about his skills right now. I mean, to me, that's probably A tier. I like that he has the ability to stand on his own. You know, he can set up and go on his own. He doesn't need another hero to combo with. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go Archer next. Let's go left to right here, Franz. Lead us away with where you think the Archer's at.
Yeah. So, and maybe this is my bias showing, as you guys just saw my my lineup, but I think archers are S tier. I think they're up there with warriors and maybe ninja, now that we were talking about them more eventually, but less about the abilities and more about the way that the attack formula is. Dexterity is given the same weight as strength, so that's why I run 2 warriors along with my archer, because I'm just getting that much more firepower from, a hero that's heavy in both those stats.
So are you using a lot of regular attacks or fierce attacks with your archer?
It's a good point. I guess I wasn't thinking about it that way. I really don't, because it's in the back line. I was just thinking strength as kind of an overarching
it's still,
thing. But
eventually they'll make it to the front line, so that is nice to, be punching hard. I like that full draw. 110. That is some of the highest. I mean, it's not Kai Blast, but it's for one. That's for one charge bar. That is some of your most efficient damage that you're going to have. Because if you look at Kai Blast, that's 100 per one charge bar. This is 110 per one charge bar. So, this or maybe the Paladin's Retribution are probably some of the most damage that you'll do per charge bar. I'd agree. S tier. Guy Kid, you've had to face off against it. Are you absolutely, does it scare you when you see it?
I think it's maybe, I don't think it's quite at the Monk and Paladin level, not to spoil my S tier.
Okay.
But just watching Franz in that last battle I thought I had it in the bag, and then his archer just fierce attacking me, to his point about how the basic damage is calculated, does make it a contender for an S tier.
So Neindorf, I'll call you the tiebreaker between these two, S or A tier.
Given the battle we just saw, I think it belongs at the top at the moment. And then I think, once you get the rest of these heroes placed, if one of these categories has too many heroes, we could, that's where you kind of got to revisit your tiers.
Okay. All right, let's go to Dark Knight next. And none of us have been able to play with the new patch update yet. Honestly, before the patch, Guy Kid, I think I would have had Dark Knight down at C tier. I was so disappointed with, his ability, and I felt like I had games where I had 2 dark packs that I got off, and he just punched like a wet noodle right afterwards. To the point where I actually wrote something to Joseph to Brad Pitt saying, is this calculating the right way? And then I would say actually like Decaying Blade. You guys can't tell I've been waiting to get some of this off my chest. Decaying Blade. I also found that like reducing the enemy's charge by 25%. It really doesn't make that big of an impact. Like maybe if you reduced, and again, the charge is like how much that they build up every turn, not the charge meter itself. I think it'd be really neat if this was instead reducing the charge meter instead of reducing their charging.
Oh, actually, like basically counter or meditate and like them
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
that they're just over that third energy tier and now they're back down to 2.
So
Yeah.
that's what I thought it did. I don't use a Dark Knight, but now that I'm hearing you read this, I'm realizing it wasn't what I thought. So
That's what, when I first saw it, that's what I hoped it did. And then I was, sadly mistaken when it did not. All right. But now if we're forward projecting the monk, we need to, or excuse me, the ninja, we need to forward project the Dark Knight. You said 65 damage to each ally and then 50% increase to damage, charge, and speed. So if you get off 2 of these, you would, your allies would be pretty close to dead, but you would double your damage, charge, and speed. Wow. I think it moves it. It's got to move it. If I was right with the C tier, it's got to move it out of C tier.
I would tend to agree.
yeah,
But we also need
hard to-
someone in the C tier is the problem.
Yeah.
Good point.
And that's the thing of like,
I think we'll have a few.
I kind of love everyone. I think that the patch will bump them from C to B, and that's the whole point of patches and balances, right?
Oh yeah.
Is you create this tier list, and then you basically have a tier list by season of like, hey, this current season and the ability is based on how they're matched up. The Dark Knight's a C list, a C tier for the first line of abilities, but then maybe you get overcompensated at some point into what you were saying with the Dark Pack of like all of a sudden if your Dark Knight's hitting 2x every single turn, he might go jump up a couple of ranks real fast.
Yeah. All right, so next we have Dragoon. Leap attack is not in the game yet. Auto attack misses me this turn. At the end of next turn, move to front line and deal 45 damage.
That sounds like so much fun.
That's a lot to think about, man.
It feels a lot like Fly or Dig in Pokemon, where you're kind of missing a turn. I think it's fascinating. So if can you use this? I think I need some clarification from Brad Pitt. Can you use this if you're in the front line already? And what happens if you do that? And if you go first, go ahead.
Because if the auto attack misses, the auto attack hits front line, right?
If your Dragoon is in the front line, though.
Right. So I'm saying if you use this from the second line, yes, you would get the secondary, the second part of that.
Got it.
And move to the front, but to
But
get
you
the
lose
auto,
out.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I don't know. That's your skill.
That
if you have a really high HP hero, yikes.
Even a low HP hero, if you at 1, I haven't used, and I have a Dragoon. He's low level, and he's in my other wallet. I've been using a little bit of a tangent here. Gosh, I'm all over the place, guys. I've been using the Diffkey bot for running my quests lately, and gosh, that is a time saver. So I've been wanting to power level. Well, I haven't really been power leveling him, but just auto questing him with that quest bot. If you guys are under 20 heroes, it's free to use. We had Thanos on a couple podcasts ago. I asked him point blank if his questing bot, because you have to give your private key, not your secret key for your whole wallet, but the private key for that specific wallet. And I asked him if there was an Order 66. He said that there was not. So still use this at your own risk. But I've been finding a ton of just time relief of not having to quest all my heroes.
Yeah, I haven't taken the plunge, but I've been looking pretty hard at Diffke.
Yeah. All right, so Dragoon, 40%. Gosh, reading through this and now playing more games, I might have to dust him off and use him. That seems like a great guy to have in your midline if you had some kind of monk building up a charge in the front line or a secondary monk in the front line. It really puts that dual pressure on.
Or throw him in your back line with your pirate in your midline.
Well, there you go. All right, so but none of us have really used him. Are we putting him in B tier? I mean, I wouldn't put him in C tier. 40% seems really good, but I don't. With one skill being unimplemented, I can't really say A tier.
Yeah, it's hard.
All right, next we have Knight. All right, so we have defensive front line. Stonewall has not been implemented. Your front line takes 50% less damage from auto attacks and cannot be pushed during this turn and the next turn. To be honest, I'd really like to see this actually stretched out to maybe 3 turns, this turn and the next 2, and maybe have this take, an energy bar. I feel like this turn and next turn isn't a lot. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? I guess you can continue to spam it if you want.
Yeah, it kind of, just to throw Pokemon in there again, like you've been doing. It was reminding me at first of Harden, and I'd like to see it be something that lasts the length of the game, but maybe isn't quite as impactful as that 50%. Maybe something that you can like kind of build slowly. I like the concept of it. I don't know about the 2-turn thing and how much of a difference it makes.
And then Shield Slam forces the enemy front and midline to swap. I've used this a few times. I do have a Knight. I don't have a good Paladin, so I've been searching for someone tanky to put on my front line with some of my lineups. I really just haven't used Shield Slam. It doesn't feel like a great slot, and also my Knight has a monk as secondary, and so having Meditate, I mean that's such a classier skill. I just feel like Knight is not that strong right now. He might be. I'd maybe put him C tier.
Yeah, I think that's our first C.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, here he is, the man, the myth,
Just drop him in.
the legend. Throw him up in S tier. He's like first S tier too. I mean, we have C9N running a team of all monks right now, and until it's beaten, I think I think that's a legitimate strategy. I actually do. Especially if you get a tanky monk, right?
Yeah, and that's the unique thing about monks is you could have 3 monks and they could have 3 completely different builds. You could have a vitality monk, you could have a strength monk, or you could have an agi monk.
Yeah, like what profession are they, and which how have you been leveling them? That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, the secondary profession, you could be running a monk wizard, and then you could deal 100 damage to all enemies with Meteor instead of using your Kai Blast. And then all of a sudden you're putting interrupt pressure on at 3 charge bars and at 2 charge bars as well. You could be running a monk and a warrior with cleave, and then you're putting pressure on at 1 charge bar and 3 charge bars. So that meditate skill, I think monks as a secondary class and monks as a primary class, they're just so darn good. All right, enough said. Paladins, Guy Kid, take away your thoughts. You kind of spoiled it a little bit earlier. That's all right.
Yeah,
Paladin.
This retribution move, it's Kai Blast with, if you've got good HP, it's Kai Blast and it's only 2 bars.
Yeah.
So it's like taking that into account of like you can really like one hit a lot of heroes with your Paladin retribution move.
Yeah, and because they have so much HP, like they really hang around. That happened to me the other night when I was fighting. I thought I was gonna finish one off. I didn't, and retribution just wrecked me. The rest was history.
And I don't use chivalry all that much, but that actually complements retribution a lot too, where if you've got a paladin that doesn't open as a front list, you can actually basically heal your
Prep
other
him.
heroes
Yeah.
and take that damage yourself. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden now you've got a paladin that's in the middle that now is building up towards that retribution and is healing your frontline tank. So it actually works from a support perspective too.
Yeah.
And my paladin has a priest subclass, which is like the perfect mix of all that too.
Nice. All right, so we have pirate next. I've been doing some game testing with pirate, and I would say B tier. I don't really love cannon barrage that much. Pushing yourself back one position. It's I just the rotating my characters hasn't been that nice. I do like plunder a lot. I feel like that's pretty strong. I don't like stealing charge because that you're stealing the ability to charge. You're again, it's going back to the Dark Knight. You're stealing the ability to charge. You're not stealing actual charge. If you were stealing actual charge, I might feel different. But if you get, otherwise, if you could just steal speed or attack, I'd say, maybe A tier. But there's a 33% chance at each, I feel like stealing charge, it's just really not that great.
Yeah, for the pirate, I like the mechanic of the cannon barrage. I like how different it is, but I'd agree it's not super effective right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I'm just not seeing what it could be in the future, or there's not a strategy to give it an open lane right now. I don't know. Maybe I think
Maybe you need some of these unimplemented heroes and their abilities. Maybe that's where he's kind of missing his complement right now.
Yeah, maybe. I think I would say plunder is good enough to keep him out of C tier though. All right, priest. I don't have any priests, so do you guys want to?
Priests. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going C. But again, if we're kind of looking at what their abilities can be, that wish sounds pretty wild. 75% of max HP. I mean, that is quite the heal for one charge bar.
For one charge.
So, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be rolled out that way, how long it would last if it is, but to me that seems like it's a little much.
Yeah, I feel like that would make games last forever almost if you got priests on each side.
It's like the Pokemon stall out strategy. All right, so we'll slot him in C tier for now. Thief. I have a thief, and he's good because he's a mythic. But with Viper Strike not being there, I'm not a big fan of the thief right now. I don't know. Maybe it's just I wasn't a very good pilot, but I feel like his moves, like where the moves complement each other really well. I feel like the thieves don't complement maybe the class very well. I do like Viper Strike, but you have to have a charge for that. And Backstab, I like it as well, but Backstab doesn't feel like it has. It feels like you need another hero or another character's ability to pressure them into switching.
Yeah, it would be cool if Viper Strike had kind of a mechanic where the poison is less effective in the mid row or the back row.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you're kind of like egging them on to make the switch and then trying to catch them with backstab when they do.
That.
I like that a lot. That's clever. So dive into that a little more. So you could use either skill to hit them in the back row then, or you could use in the, if you had him in the midline, you could use the Viper Strike then?
No, so I was saying so you use Viper Strike, right? And it hits the front line, deals the damage, and then poisons them.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't heard how that poison's gonna take effect. If it maybe does, X amount of damage in the front line, but then 75% of that damage if they're in the mid line, maybe 50% in the back line. I don't know. But yeah, the only thing with that kind of mechanic is they don't have to switch from front to mid. They could switch from front to back, and then the backstab wouldn't have that kind of added effect. So
Right.
there are interesting things that you could do, though.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, I like the idea of backstab. It doesn't feel like the thief can apply pressure that does this. As I was advocating to Joseph and Tex one time, I'd love to see the skill U-turn, stealing from Pokemon, stealing about everything from Pokemon Tonight. That's where you attack and then your character actually switches places. And so it'd be a nice way to get off an attack first and then to actually switch in someone else. So you could get some of that kind of like the sneaky damage in. I'd love to see something like that. All right. I don't know. I'm feeling C tier. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Warrior.
I know someone's opinion.
My vote's S tier here. I also didn't think we were gonna see Paladin in S, so I don't know. I'd be okay with A. I go back to the formula again, and you did tear that part of that point apart with the Archer because they're really not doing fierce attacks, but with the Warrior you are. So I think it stands a little bit there.
Nice. All right, I'm fine with that. Wizard.
We haven't talked much about them.
I played against a wizard today. I liked it. I like Meteor. I like Meteor a lot. I don't love Ice Blast. I don't know if this would be too OP, but if Ice Blast decreased everyone's speed on their team, like even maybe if it took like one charge to decrease everyone's speed, I think then it'd make it a lot more usable because you just your guys really don't last that long, and so if you're using Ice Blast on someone else, it just feels like they're not going to last around the whole game. So it feels like it takes a little bit to set it up, and then if he's in the front line, he's going to get damage as well. I don't know. I wish that could attack everyone.
I think
I do kind of feel like your magic-based characters, almost all their abilities should take at least one charge. I think with a wizard, I feel like he just, that makes sense. Maybe even looking forward to Summoner and Sage, I feel like, it's a lot harder to focus those magical sort of attacks than a guy swinging a sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as this kind of progresses, the formula for gaining charge is intelligence plus wisdom. So like I was messing around with taking my Archer out and putting in a wizard just for that boost in charge. It wasn't too significant, but again, in 10, 15 levels, maybe it will be. So I think I'd be cool with all of their abilities taking a charge.
And I don't know where it was, but somewhere Tyler's put in some ideas. It was the feedback. Nope. In one of the chats a while back, well, maybe yesterday, talking about... Okay, so here we go. Sage, he was thinking about Lightning Strike, deal 70 damage to a random enemy. Overload would be randomly use your other skills 5 times. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Full draw. That was going to be the furthest character instead of backline. So yeah, he didn't have that one updated. Ice Blast, he was going to boost, and then Caltrops, he was going to have it be able to stack. And then Fierce Attack, he was going to have it do 50 plus, instead of 50% attack damage, have it do 10% of the target's max HP. That would definitely boost Fierce Attack, I think. Maybe not.
Yeah, it depends on who you're hitting.
Yeah.
Significantly.
And then Dread Knight Entire enemy team gets minus 50% auto damage for 2 turns. Invoke Despair. And Overpower. 85 damage to frontline, double if they use a skill. I told them that I thought Overpower was overpowered.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
If you hit that double, I mean, that's more than half a Kai Blast right there.
Right. Okay, well, this is our first tier list. Thanks, guys, for coming on. No questions over here in YouTube, and we've been running a little more than an hour, hour and 20 minutes. So it's a long one tonight. So thanks, viewers, for listening in on this. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Guy Kid, and thank you, Franz, for jumping on, and thank you guys also for participating in battles over there in Fight Klub. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Pumped for Thursday night now after this.
Yeah. Neindorf, any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some practice in here. I can see already, or I'm gonna get it handed to me here. You guys have already got some counter strategy figured out, so I got my work cut out for me.
Oh, Bravos NFT, he's got a question. He said, "No giveaway?" ?
Oh.
What do you think, Neindorf? You got anything in mind?
I mean, I got extra scrolls. If people want scrolls, we can give you a scroll.
Let's do some extra scrolls.
Why not, right? I don't know that I don't even know what I have in my inventory lately. I have not been checking otherwise.
Yeah, let's how about this? We got a good group that showed up. How about I give away a lesser fortune stone, and we'll give away a couple scrolls. So we got to come up with some questions here. Franz, we'll let you come up with the first question. Guy Kid, you get to come up with the second question for our YouTubers.
Oh man, pressure's on.
Yeah, let's do something kind of Fight Club or nerdy video game related. Let's make sure I got some. Yeah, I got 4 lesser fortune stones. How about this? You get a lesser fortune crystal because I have 9 of those. So that's what I'm giving away for the second question.
Or you can give away 100 bloaters. Everyone's always happy with bloaters, right?
100 bloaters.
Got to make those pet treats coming up here pretty soon, right?
All right. So, you guys got any thoughts on questions, or do you want us to?
Yeah, I was just looking at. I googled Fight Club trivia online.
Excellent.
It's not giving me too much.
All right. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Neindorf.
I was going to say, first person who says their favorite class for Fight Club and why. Oh, and put your Discord name in there too. Nice and simple.
Nice and simple.
See if we get any unique perspectives from our listeners. I kind of, maybe some of them have played already as well. I could use a little help, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see a bunch of new faces in there.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're on a little bit of a delay. All right, Raventoe said ninja. All right, Raventoe.
All right.
Scroll.
Yep. I'll send me your address, and I'll send you a scroll. I'll get a couple you can choose from, by the way.
All right. Scroll of your choice. Okay, lesser fortune stone. We got to come up with a good giveaway question. Got anything, Guy Kid?
I was just gonna rattle off an ability and first person to respond to it.
Okay, let's do that.
Dude.
So, Discord name needs to be in there. Which hero uses Dark Pact?
Ooh, were you paying attention? I like it. This is like the quiz at the end.
Yeah.
Queued up here.
Trivia is weird when you're the host from a lag perspective, huh? I've never experienced it on this side.
Yeah, it's you kind of got to stall for time. All right, that's which hero, and you're probably everyone's looking it up already, but which hero has Dark Pact?
That's correct.
All right, Raven Toe, you're disqualified. You already won the first one. You're much faster on the typing than everyone else here tonight.
You might be the only guy with a pulse, though.
Yeah, we got bots watching, I guess. All right, I'm gonna give the other listeners 10 more seconds. And for those of you catching the stream afterwards, the Wanderer just asked, where do we find this game? This is over on Discord, so I will link that right now.
There we go. See, we're going to get some more people, like you said.
All right.
Wanderer, that's a fun name. I feel like we have to give it to Raven Toe.
Oh, Bravo's NFT asked, are you getting my messages? And he said, dude, are you getting my messages? I was not, dude. And then he responded with the Dark Knight. So, all right, Raven Toe, sorry. You already won one. So, Bravo's NFT. There you go. Your persistence has paid off. You asked for a giveaway, and a giveaway has been granted. So, Bravo's NFT, what is your Discord name? Go ahead and write that in here so I know who to expect to be Discording me. And then shoot me a direct message in Discord, and I'll get your OX, and I'll send you a Lesser Insight Crystal. Or, excuse me, Lesser Insight Stone. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Really appreciate it, and have a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.